So you want to learn how to care for your Savannah monitor correctly? Well, after this video, you'll be an expert. So guys, in this video, I'm going to show you the correct care for a Savannah monitor. I'm going to run through everything you need to know. We're going to do the enclosure size, the feeding regime, the lighting, the heating, absolutely everything you need to know. We're also going to clear up quite a few myths and quite a bit of bad advice that is out there. So we're going to start with where they come from in the natural wild. They are a sub-Saharan African species. If you are thinking about getting one of these, just please keep in mind they do get rather large. This isn't a fully grown Savannah monitor. They are an insectivore in the wild, so you've got to feed them insects. A lot of people tend to say hearts and meat and chicken and steak and all that sort of stuff. They're an insectivore. Their diet should be insectivore related. So we're going to start this tutorial off by talking about their enclosure size, along with what's needed inside their enclosure. This here is Hugo's enclosure. It's a two-part enclosure. Down the bottom, up to about here, is the Savannah monitor. Up the top there, you've got Popcorn, the Carl Sunglow boa. If you want to know more about the Sunglow boa, just click on my channel, click subscribe, and you'll be able to go through my videos and you'll be able to see a few there. But let's talk about this one. At the minute, he's not a fully grown Savannah monitor. He's only half size at the moment, but there is still a few requirements needed. It's only 6 foot wide. When he becomes fully grown, any full-grown Savannah monitor should have at least an 8 foot long enclosure, at least 4 foot tall and 4 foot deep. This one at the minute is 6 foot wide, 3 foot deep, 3 foot tall. This bottom half here, as you can tell, is quite deep. That's 2 foot deep, and that is simply because they need deep, compact substrate, simply because they do a lot of burrowing. They are a burrowing species. They live in burrows in the wild. So you've got to give them that opportunity of a substrate which can compact, but where they can burrow and the burrows don't collapse. Substrate, I use a mix of topsoil, cocoa fibre, sand, and within that I've also got crushed sandstone. And that to me really does the job perfectly. It keeps the humidity level in there perfect. It holds his burrows together great. It's an all-round perfect substrate for him. That's the enclosure all sorted. We're going to move on to what's inside the enclosure. So we'll start on his hot side, just over there. You can see that platform that he's stood on is just a really thick slab directly underneath the heat lamp. In this enclosure, I've got 2 heat bulbs, one set a little higher than the other, and they both aim down onto this slab and heat the slab up, so he has belly heat along with air ambient temperature heat, which is absolutely perfect, just what he wants. The temperature of that hotspot there is thermostatically controlled. You must have a thermostat that's a high output thermostat, but I've got it set at 135 degrees Fahrenheit on the hotspot, and that helps his digestion perfectly. You have to remember these are a cold-blooded species. They need the heat to digest, and where they come from in the wild, the sub-Saharan areas of Africa, this is the heat they need. Along with the heat though, they also need other lighting. Now, although my wiring is absolutely horrendous, there is 2 UVB strip lights in there. They need UVB lighting for a lot of reasons, to help digest the calcium, because they need it, because that's what they've got in the wild. In the wild, they've got their own natural sun, which produces that. Here in the UK, they don't have that added extra, so we have to provide it. They are 12% UVB lights. And the reason I've got 2, 1 is because it's a large enclosure, and 2, because I have them turn off at different times. One turns off 15 minutes before the other to replicate a sunset. As soon as the first one goes off, he knows it's time to start hunkering down for the night now. He goes into his bed, into his den, into his burrow, and that's him for the night. He goes fast asleep. But the lighting, all the lighting, the heat lamps, the UVB lighting, that is all set on timers. 12 hours on and 12 hours off. There he is. He's trying to get me. He knows it's feeding time soon. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Through the colder months, that changes slightly because these guys do brumate. Brumate is a reptile version of hibernation. I brumate him every single year and he comes out thriving. Now, in the winter times, I knock it down. I do it to, I slowly, over a few months, I knock it down to 8 hours on, the rest of the time off. My maths isn't very good. The thermostat I use for the heat lights is a standard dimming thermostat, and it works great. I've got a block plug socket a plug socket that you can plug a few different plugs in. Plugged it into the thermostat, and I've got both bulbs hooked into that same plug, and it's all controlled perfectly. Both the bulbs have to be exactly the same. They are both 150 watt UVA reptile bulbs. So that section we have covered, the heating and the lighting. Let's talk about his burrow. Now I made a man-made burrow just down there, and he dug it out. It goes all the way to that back wall, so it's a big burrow underneath it. He's dug it all out himself. Now as you can see, all the way down that back corner, all the way down there, that's his water dish. It's big enough for him to totally submerge in if he ever wants to, and that'll just help him with shedding and stuff like that. There's the basking slab on the top. This normally is a live planted enclosure, but he terrorises it and wrecks it every single time. I've got just a general little bit of decor. Now this enclosure isn't finished. I've got a full background to do. Quite importantly, I've got hygrometers dotted around this whole enclosure. And the humidity I try to strive to achieve is around about 75 to 80% humidity. I achieve that humidity simply by spraying the enclosure down twice a week and keeping a good close eye on the hygrometers. Now let's move on to the dietary requirements. This is where a lot of people go wrong. So if you're going to take anything from this video, make it be this. This is the most important thing of the whole lot. It all works together well. You've got to use every bit of knowledge to be able to care for your Savannah monitor correctly. This is the most important one, simply because it's not known. A lot of people do this bit wrong, and this is important. So a lot of people seem to think that Savannah monitors live off steak, raw meats, turkey, all that sort of stuff, and it's just not true. Insects are their diet. That is a fact, straight down the middle. Insects are their diet. People give them steak and stuff, it overfeeds them. They suffer from a disease, a common disease. The only reason they suffer from this disease is because of people feeding them in the meat-based diets. Fatty liver disease is a common problem. Metabolic bone disease is a common problem. If you want to know more about metabolic bone disease, I'll stick a card just up here so you can click on that, and that'll take you through to the metabolic bone disease video. But to avoid all these diseases, feed them correctly. They feed off dubia roaches. That is a good quality source for them. They feed off superworms, crickets, locusts, any insect that's not wild caught. You don't give them a wild caught insect. But any insect, any bug that you can buy at a reptile shop, feed it to your animals. A variety is important. And you don't feed it too much. They're a slow growing animal. So people that buy the baby Savannah monitors and then in a year they're fully grown, that's overfed. You don't overfeed them. They will keep eating and eating and eating and eating. So you don't need to wait for them to tell you when they're full, because that's too much food. Then the next most important thing to give to your animal is calcium. I've got with vitamin D3, that with the UVB lighting helps him absorb the calcium, and I will never ever have to worry about metabolic bone disease or MBD in Hugo the Savannah monitor. So the way to do it, I've got an old cricket keeper here with some dubia roaches in there. I'm not feeding just dubia roaches today. I'm feeding superworms as well. And I just sprinkle some calcium in. Job's a good one. And give it a shake. Sorted. And then I'll feed them off to Hugo. So the way I feed him, I grab whatever bug I'm feeding him and I'll throw it down the other side of the enclosure. He'll go running down to the other side of the enclosure. It's a bit of exercise for him. Let's try right now. Look at that. He already knows. Look. Poof. Go get it. Look at him go. He loves chasing food. Massive bit of exercise. I've got the next one ready for him for when he gets up here. He absolutely loves doing it. Here you can see a great example. We've started clicker training him about 6 months ago. Click our fingers just to let him know it's feeding time. Other than that, if we don't do that, then he knows it's not feeding time. We can get him out to handle him, and he's just a lot more handleable and a lot more friendly when we do have him clicker trained. But listen to the crunch every time he has one of these. Oh my God, he absolutely loves them. Now I know dubia roaches are very expensive, so if you wanted to breed your own, I'll stick a notification, a little card up in the top corner. You can click on that. That'll teach you how to breed your own dubia roaches. If you are in the UK, the cheapest place I've found to supply them is a place online called Buzzard Reptiles. You can get more for your money there, and they are a lot healthier as well. So that's one little place you can go to. But like I say, if you want to breed your own, I'll stick a card in the comment section right now. But guys, it really is vitally important that you do not overfeed your Savannah monitor. They will keep eating and eating and eating until they can't stomach anymore. That's when you've got problems. Please guys, don't overfeed your Savannah monitor. It shortens their life dramatically and gives them a really, really uncomfortable life. And then guys, the same again with superworms. I've dipped them in the container. I've covered them with calcium. I'll get his attention in a second when he's busy. Check this out guys, as soon as I click my fingers it gets his attention. He knows it's feeding time. He comes straight up for some food. Oh, he dropped it. Oh, he got it back. There's another one. And another one. And another one. A variety is key in their diet. Big meal today for you, mate. Another one. Another one. I've bred these superworms by myself. If you want to learn more about that, click the card that will probably be here or here. That'll take you straight through to how to breed your own superworm video. So guys, I think I've covered absolutely everything you need to know about how to care for your Savannah monitor. If you do have any questions, stick them in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed it or learnt anything, please hit that thumbs up button. It really does help. And if you're new around here, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell next to it. That way you'll get notified every single time I do upload a video. Peace out, guys.